be doing my assignment for the appendicular video for appendicular video assignment for anatomy class. Let's start off with the pectoral girdle, and this is the clavicle. That's the clavicle, and then here is the acromial end of the clavicle. This is the sternal end of the clavicle. Now let's go to the scapula part. Scapula, the coracoid process for the scapula is this here. That's the coracoid process. This section here. Then you have the subscapular fossa. Subscapular fossa is it's behind the ribs here. Subscapular fossa behind the ribs. It's right there. Actually, right here, right behind the ribs. Then let's go to the glenoid cavity. Let's turn this model around. It's the glenoid cavity. Then you have the spine. The spine is this here. Then you have the acromion. The acromion should be this area here. Acromion. Then you have the supraspinous fossa. The supraspinous fossa should be here. Supraspinous fossa. Then you have the infraspinous fossa. Infraspinous fossa meaning down below the supraspinous fossa, so it should be here. Supraspinous fossa here. Then you have the sternoclavicular joint. So the sternoclavicle joint, sternoclavicular joint here, acromion clavicular joint, acromion clavicular joint. This is the acromion clavicle, acromion clavicular joint. And then let's move on to the arm. This is the arm, and then this is basically the humerus, and then this is the head of the humerus, this here. Then the greater tubercle, this greater tubercle. Then the lesser tubercle. Lesser tubercle is this part here. Then you have the deltoid tuberosity. Deltoid tuberosity here. This area there. Actually, this one there. And then you have the medial epicondyle. Let me see. Should be around medial epicondyle. Should be this area here. Right here. Medial epicondyle. The lateral epicondyle is the opposite side. Lateral epicondyle. Then you have the coronoid fossa. Coronoid fossa is, okay, let me see. Coronoid fossa. I think it's better if I turn the guy around. Coronoid fossa is right here. That's the coronoid fossa. And what goes in the coronoid fossa? Actually the ulna, and it allows movement. And then we have the capitulum here. To be precise, it's like around here, the capitulum. And the capitulum articulates with the ulna and the radius bone. Now let's go for the trochlea. The trochlea is sort of in the middle of the humerus, so it should be here. The trochlea, and it also articulates with the ulna and the radius. The ulna and the radius. Now the olecranon fossa. We have the olecranon fossa. Olecranon fossa is this section here. We can, yeah, olecranon fossa should be here. Olecranon fossa. And now, moving on to the forearm. Or moving on to the forearm, we'll discuss the ulna. This is the ulna, and then you have the olecranon of the ulna. And this is the ulna. This is the radius. So the olecranon should be right about here. Olecranon. Then you have the coronoid process, which I already showed the other video. The other actually much more visible in the upper arm, but you can actually see it in the forearm right around here. Coronoid, right around there. Coronoid process. And then you have the styloid process. Styloid process. Okay, let's start with the radial styloid process. This is the radial styloid process. Radial should be here. So radial, and then this is the ulnar styloid process, which is here. So you have the radial styloid process, should be here, and then you have the ulnar styloid process here. So we got that one, and then yeah, so we have the radius bone. This is the radius bone, and then you have the head of the ulna. This is the head of the ulna, and then you have the radial tuberosity. The radial tuberosity. First, you have to find the radial bone. So the radial tuberosity should be this guy here, radial tuberosity. And then you have the head of the radius. Finally, the head of the radius. This is the head of the radius on top. It's very close to the elbow joint. Head of the radius. Now we'll be talking about the carpus area. Let's start off with the proximal row, from lateral to distal. Here we have the scaphoid. Should be here. Then you have the lunate, which is right next to the scaphoid. The triquetral, and then the pisiform. Now let's move on to the distal row, from lateral to medial. You have the trapezium, then you have the trapezoid, then you have the capitate, and then finally you have the hamate. Okay, which bones form the wrist joint with what forearm bone? The proximal row, it actually attaches to the radius. The proximal row actually attaches to the radius. And which bone forms a joint with the pollex? The trapezium. Now we're going to point out the metacarpals and the phalanges. Metacarpals are these long bones here, and the phalanges, they're the ones on the tip. Phalanges, metacarpals, phalanges. We talk about the pelvic girdle, and then so we'll start with the coxal bones. We have to point out the approximate borders of the three bones that fuse during development of the skeleton to form the coxal bone. There are three of them: the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. Let's start with the ilium. The ilium is this area here. Then you have the ischium. Start with the pubis first. And so the pubis should be here, and then the ischium should be this area here. The ischium, pubis, ischium. Okay, now we have to point out the acetabulum here. Now the pubic symphysis, which is somewhere around here. Pubic symphysis. The obturator foramen, it's very easy. It's the big hole here. Obturator foramen. Then you have the iliac crest. The iliac crest is this area, known here. Then you have the anterior superior iliac spine. Okay, so basically you have the iliac crest, and then you have the anterior superior iliac spine around here. Then you have the iliac fossa. Iliac fossa is this. It's better if I turn this guy around. So iliac fossa is somewhere here. Iliac fossa. And then you have the greater sciatic notch. Greater sciatic notch is, okay, this is there. The greater sciatic notch should be here, around there. The greater sciatic notch. Then you have the ischial spine. The ischial spine should be this. It's like a small, if I can find it, it's like a small indentation. Should be right next to, I'm getting lost here, this here. Well, it's actually above the obturator fossa. Should be here. So that's fine. And then you have the ischial tuberosity. Should be right here, right there.